Cheers, Mama.
Cheers, Daddy.
Welcome back into the podcast studio.
Thank you.
It's been a while since it's been just you and I in here.
I know.
Whoa, that sounded weird.
Hey.
No Chip and Joanna this week, obviously, but we want to welcome you guys in if you are watching or listening. Thank you once again for being here. We're going to discuss whether or not Melissa and I are both simultaneously going crazy with this new podcasting and experiencing a midlife crisis together as a married couple.
Yeah. Well, this is episode 20 now of the podcast.
Episode 20. Hey, cheers it up again.
Cheers it up. That's an anniversary right there.
Looks like we made it. Sorry, go
We
ahead.
definitely for sure have not done that yet.
Yeah, no.
But episode 20, that's pretty good. And so we were kind of wondering, what caused us to go down this crazy journey of podcasting. And then we decided that we love it because we were kind of seeking something new to be really excited about. And then we decided that it was like a midlife crisis.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of joked about it, but I think you're right. And we haven't really discussed this at length prior to coming in here, but I think you're right. I think it's both you and I seeking something, craving something in our lives. I think that's definitely true for me. I've really enjoyed having guests on the podcast. Not that I don't love when it's just you and I catching up on a weekly basis, but having guests and getting to pick other people's brains and have conversations with people has been great.
Yeah.
And it's something that I feel like we are all sort of lacking and craving deep down.
Yeah, just that human connection.
Yeah.
We've really kind of lost that. And so it is nice to be able to seek that out and to be able to say, hey, we have this podcast. Do you want to sit down? Because you're able to sit down and have amazing conversations with people that you would never otherwise have an excuse to call at home and ask, do you want to come to our house and talk?
Just this week,
think of how weird that sounds.
This is our third podcast now this week. We had one that will be released a few weeks from now. We did the one that came out last week with Tom and Nancy. And yeah, like you said, there's no way that we ever would have had these great conversations with these people if it weren't for coming up with this idea. And it's been by far the best thing to come out of the podcast. I mean, it's been awesome. It really has.
Yeah. I mean, we've made friends, like real friends over the podcast. Like Sarah and I are friends now. We talk all the time. And I love that.
And I feel that way with every time we have somebody on. Like I said, when we have guests on, I'm always by far the most nervous for when we have guests on. But coming away from the conversations too, I always feel like we like shared an experience together. Like we just went through something together and now we know each other better. And like with Sarah, I'm like, I feel like a connection to you now.
Yeah.
And this is awesome.
Yeah. She's like amazing. Yeah. And I never would have known that. And like, I was able to ask if we could go to Tom's house and sit at his kitchen table. Like you could never be like, hey, person I've never met before, can I come over and sit at your kitchen table?
Yeah.
And talk to you for 2 hours? So it's really cool. And maybe it was a bit of a midlife thing that got us into this, but what a blessing it's been. I mean, some people buy a pontoon boat. Some people buy a Corvette. Some people start a podcast.
Some people start their own goofy little show.
Yeah.
It's the option we chose.
Yeah. I like it.
No, it's been great. We're 20 episodes in, and we wanted to touch upon just some of the changes that are going to be occurring because we are always self-evaluating and figuring out how it is that we can maximize our efforts and improve in what we're doing. And doing this show, literally, my biggest takeaways has been that talking, speaking, and even having a conversation with somebody on camera is it's a skill. 100% it's a skill. And we have tons of room for improvement, and I can't wait to continue on with doing this. It's become something that we are both very passionate about. But with some of the changes that we are going to be implementing, you will notice from a viewership standpoint is that we are going to start incorporating some clips. What does that mean? You want to explain
I
that
didn't know
away?
the camera was on me. I was like, opportunity to itch my nose.
Clips.
I have a fuzzy from the carpet.
The floor is yours. Clips.
Thanks for that. Okay, so I was like, good, he's talking.
This is one of the things we need to improve upon.
No, it still itches.
Kicking it over to each other.
Oh,
You want me to start?
I got a fuzz, like, it's a fuzz. Okay.
Okay, she's okay.
I'm
She's
all
good.
right. No, it's still, okay. I got it. Sorry, it's up there. You talk about it.
Okay, so clips. I promise you, we just started drinking both of these beverages that we have in front of us here. We are going to start incorporating a couple of clips probably on a weekly basis. So two video clips per week here on the channel. They will be released and appear like normal video releases do. However, they're going to be much shorter and they will be pulled from prior episodes of the podcast, probably when we've had guests, because for Melissa and I, again, those have been by far the most interesting conversations that we've had. You want to pick it up from there?
Yeah.
You good?
So the clips are, like Jeremy said, they're 7 to 10 minutes, and they just introduce new viewers to the podcast. So for all of you guys, you rock. You're awesome. You're willing to click on an hour, 2 hour, 2.5 hour podcast, and that's tremendous. A lot of the feedback we've gotten from regular subscribers over on Good Simple Living is, I want to try your podcast, but I don't have an hour. So we thought if we did some clips and they're only 7 minutes long or 10 minutes long, it kind of gives people a little sample of the episode, and then hopefully they will give it a try.
It's like Baskin Robbins, right? You
Yeah,
got 31 flavors in front of you,
spoon.
but it's overwhelming. It's a big ask to have somebody be like, hey, will you sit down and listen to us for an hour, just kind of talk to each other, talk to a guest?
Yeah.
Can I just get a little spoonful, just a
Right.
little sample, see if I like it?
Before you get that triple scoop ice cream, you want that little pink spoon that's going to cut the sides of your mouth. You want to for sure try that.
No,
That's what happens. It's brutal.
tragic. So we're going to be releasing clips on a regular basis on the channel. Again, if you've seen every single episode that we've released, thank you so much. We're really grateful. This is more so being put out in hopes of grabbing some new eyes or entertaining those who have been a little reluctant to actually sit down and watch a full episode. So,
Yeah, so it's just more content. It's not replacing any content. So there will still be full episodes every Wednesday.
what has been your favorite thing about the podcast thus far?
Definitely meeting new people, getting outside my comfort zone, because I definitely have a very comfortable down comforter cave that I like to live in. So it's kind of forced me out. It makes me go up to people and ask people if they want to talk to us.
So pushing your like personal
Yeah.
limitations.
It's taught me once again about rejection.
What do you mean once again?
Well, I don't know. Like, you think about high school. You forget the part where I looked like Chelsea Clinton in high school. It was not great.
Has there been one standout moment for you?
One particular standout
Long
moment?
pause or an episode or anything?
Man, there's been like a lot of really great things. I think my favorite episode and my favorite person to connect with, it's got to be probably Sarah. Yeah.
I was going to say the same thing.
That was just a really powerful afternoon.
It was.
I feel like I made a lifelong friend. So yeah, that's got to be at the top of my list.
Yeah, it's great. Like I said, coming away from these conversations, you feel like you forge a connection with somebody. You see them, you see a deeper version of them, not just this surface, facade that we all kind of present to each other.
Yeah. And now I can't quit buying rugs.
What do you mean?
I don't know. She
'cause of
weaves
what she
these
makes.
rugs, and then she gave me one as a gift. And then now every time I see pretty colors, I add to cart.
So do you think that this podcast has been a midlife crisis thing for us?
I don't know if it was a midlife crisis, because I feel like midlife crises are like a shiny purple car or something, like something you didn't need, but you want to put in your garage and makes you feel better about yourself. I feel like that's kind of a midlife crisis. But this, I think we've spent our entire lives, I think all young people, you spend your entire life looking forward to something and grinding and working towards something that you haven't achieved yet.
Yeah.
And then when you're in the middle of your life, you've found the right person. Hopefully you've had kids and they're getting older now. So there's a lot of the firsts with little kids too, all the stuff that you think about when you think about becoming a parent or being in a young marriage and everything like that, buying your first house, decorating, baby showers, things like that are kind of like over here. You're over here now. You already passed all that and you don't have as much to look forward to. And I think that's a dangerous place to be. People need something to look forward to
strive for.
It doesn't matter how old you are. And that becomes less.
And so what is
the
that?
older you get.
What is that for us currently?
We had this massive dream for so long of you getting out of police work,
Yeah.
moving our family out here and building a house. And I thought that would take the rest of our life if we
it
ever
happened.
achieved it.
That's the way I felt too.
I thought eventually we would just get to the age where like, okay, well, it didn't
No,
work.
it was something that we were pursuing and it kept us busy and it kept us looking
Yep.
forward. And now
Yep.
we are in a position to where we are reaching that stage of the game, that stage of life where rather than looking forward, I've definitely started to look just become more reflective and look back. And I feel like this whole situation has kind of snuck up on me. Being this age and having the life that we currently have, and like, the kids looking the way they look, the way we both individually look. It's I don't know why. I just didn't anticipate it. It's like I played a weird prank on myself, and I never really gave it any serious thought to where now I almost feel like things are they literally are outside of my control. When you have little kids and you're a young family, it feels like, hey, no, I'm in control of the situation here. I can kind of steer and navigate situations and as I deem fit, and from a husband and father perspective. I guess you have your own, your own thoughts on the same issues, but it just feels like now everyone's kind of doing their own thing, and I'm constantly in a state of playing catch up mentally just with looking at the kids. They look, Kaimani right now is out of control. He looks different on a literally weekly basis.
Well, he's doing some puffy thing with his hair right now.
He's got the longer hair. He's just getting older, and everybody is. Nevaeh as a young adult. She's going to be a legal adult next year. And Kira is now, you see all the comments that came in on this last video about Kira and her growth spurt and looking older and everything. And it's freaking me out.
Yeah.
It's just, it's so much. It's so much simultaneous change. There's only 6 of us in our family, and 5 of us are going through very.
Eli is too.
Yeah, he is.
He really is.
We all are. He's getting older as well.
Man, I was just looking at literally a year ago a photo of him, and he still had that little boy baby face, and now he has just a little boy face, but not a little boy baby face. He doesn't have the baby cheeks and stuff anymore. No. He held on to that for a long time, and I appreciate that. But now he just looks like a 3rd grader.
Yeah, everybody is kind of coming into their own. I don't know. It's just too much change. And I don't handle change well. I like stability. I like...
no change.
I like no change.
Which is really good news for me, because he's just like, this is fine.
Yeah, it's never been my thing. I've always been a creature of habit. But to see it happening in our family members, the people that you and I live our lives for, it's just been very intense. And honestly... I've had a very hard time with it. We had our neighbors come over here a couple weeks ago, and they just stopped by for a random visit to actually drop something off.
They'll never come over again.
And it became like a 90-minute conversation right in the middle of our driveway where I started like I was like, I kept apologizing to him, like, I'm sorry for dumping on you. I respect that they are even older than us, and that they've gone through this and they've gotten to experience it. And so I was actually seeking out some fatherly advice from somebody who's been there and done it before. So just a lot of change, and I have been grappling with it. I think we both have. I think we all kind of have, even the kids in a weird way, because it's new for them too.
But they are at the stage where now they have their own things to look forward to.
They do, but
they're forming their own plans.
I mean, in dealing with us, like the way that they come to us now, and the way they speak to us, the way they like our kids are at the age where they're like poking fun at us.
Yeah, the 2 older ones for sure. They tease me constantly. Kaimani never teased me until probably 6 months ago. And now everything that comes out of his mouth is like, Mom.
I know, yeah.
What is this?
It's like your words don't carry any weight.
Spider-Man costume for 2 years, and you're going to tease me?
Yeah, it's a really weird thing to have to adjust to. But like I said, I feel like I'm playing constant catch up. And our neighbor, to quote him, he just looked at me and patted me on the shoulder, and he's like, "The kids are becoming adults, bud. Like this is how it goes." And I was just like,
"No."
I said, I don't know why that comes as a surprise to me. Like, I'm no different from everybody else. But like, I guess when I would see changes like that happening and occurring in other families, I was like, oh, that's that family. That's those people. That's them. That's not our family. That's not
like, going to happen to us.
We're immune from that. I don't know why I told that to myself, because now it's made it to where it's really hard to digest.
Yeah. And no, I'm totally guilty of that too. So Kira is very, very, very sweet. And, I guess I assumed that she would still be that sweet, playful, like girl, but as an adult. Like I thought that same 6-year-old personality would be her at 30.
She is still that currently, but it's dwindling, and you can see it in moments. And when you do, it's for her especially. Like for me, her seeing those changes in her, like, oh, it's like absolutely heartbreaking. That's like,
she wrote a Christmas list today, and there were no toys on it.
What?
No toys. I was like, she asked for a lot of beauty supplies, face mist. What is that? And then she told me she was almost out of her moisturizer and what brand she wanted. And I was like, what? Hair clips, all this stuff. And then I was like, you don't want any toys? And she's like, I don't really play with them anymore. I was like, like it's just like my soul just left my body.
Why do you think that we don't like the way that feels? Like to see that, that's a blessing, right? That's an absolute blessing to see your children grow older and come into their own and become young, thriving adults, hopefully. Why do you think that they're like, I don't know, maybe it just doesn't apply to everybody. Maybe you and I are just freaking weirdos. But I
know, even cats start to bat their kittens away.
Yeah. And not that it's not like a contentious thing at all. It's just when I see it, I recognize it in kids. I'm like, oh, it like hurts inside. I'm like, oh, they're getting older.
It's gotta be. I think everyone does feel that way, but
is it because they need you less and less?
No. Well, for me, oh God, this is a hard thing for me to talk about. For me, I looked so forward to being a parent, and I never pictured being a parent of a teenager or an adult or being a grandparent or being in the mother of the bride, or that was not in the plan. I pictured babies, pregnancy, birth, breastfeeding, all of that. That's co-sleeping, smelling baby breath in my face. Toddlers, going to the park. I really didn't picture anything over like 10. So like this was this long childhood dream of mine. And now I'm losing that because my kids are slipping outside of that magic moment that I know when I'm like old, I'm going to reflect back to those days. And those are the days. Those are the days.
The days of our lives.
That's the sweet spot right there. I loved being a stay-at-home mom of 4, under 8. Chaos, like shirts, mismatched pajamas, mismatched shoes. I loved it. I loved every second of it. Like people were like, "Oh, you need a break."
Yeah, you were so tired.
You had your hands full.
You were so tired.
But it was like tired bliss. Like I would sometimes just sit on the couch and just watch, and they put on little variety shows for me. I loved it.
And you never slept, despite being so tired. You never took a nap.
I didn't need sleep. I wanted to be with my kids. Speaking of sleep, this episode of the podcast is sponsored by Manta Sleep. So honestly, I almost said no to this because I have never owned a sleep mask and I didn't really understand them. But I did agree to try the product. So once it arrived, I stuck it right on my head and holy cow, it's incredible.
Guys, Melissa is not kidding. When I first heard about this thing, I thought it was going to be a total gimmick. I actually made fun of the very idea of even promoting it. But when I tried it for the first time, amazing. It's like a sensory deprivation tank, but on your face.
The material is super soft, totally breathable, and fully customizable, so it even fits Jeremy's gigantic head. We got the Sound Plus Deep Sleep Bundle, which means you get these awesome, soft, lightweight little eye cups. They are C-shaped, so if you are a side sleeper like me, it is perfect. They also have razor-thin Bluetooth speakers, so you can sleep on your side, sleep on your back, whatever's comfortable for you. And I love the cooling eye cups that come with them, and they just lull you into this deep state of relaxation.
Okay, back to me and my giant head. Thanks for that, Melissa. The Manta Sleep, guys, is absolutely amazing. I wouldn't be telling you that if it weren't true. I had an amazing experience with it. A couple of my favorite features were the fact that there is a scent tab up at the front that transports you, takes you away, makes you feel like you're at a spa. Also, it's got these side adjustable speakers that you can set right on your ear so you can listen to your favorite music, maybe your favorite podcast. Also, those speakers last for up to 20 hours.
I'm so glad that we gave Manta Sleep a try because every single person on our Christmas list is getting one of these things. You already have one. So they have all kinds of different sales throughout the month and lots of different options for everyone on your list. They have a fully weighted mask. They have a silk mask. They have the cooling eye cups and they have the steam eye cups. I just ordered those yesterday because how incredible does that sound to have steamy weighted eye cups on if you have a cold or a sinus infection or a migraine. I'm really excited about it.
Guys, trust me on this one. I love this thing. It's like my new favorite thing. Manta Sleep. Get one for yourself. Get one for your friends, your loved ones, your family. If you click on the link down in the description box below and use code GSL, you will get 10% off your order from Manta Sleep.
And now they're older and Kira and Eli still want to do a lot with us, but it is dwindling. It's changing. And I know with Eli, he's 8. He's going to be 18 in 10 years.
Oh, he's 9 in a few weeks. Really? I mean,
don't.
You got to cherish Melissa.
How can he be 9?
I don't know.
And yeah.
I don't want to mope. I hate moping about it though.
Man,
But
it's just
that's definitely the thing that makes me feel the oldest.
that's why we started a podcast.
Yeah, not to tie it back into that, but it's just there's a lot of things going on, and I think
Yeah.
kind of like you mentioned a second ago, or to get this whole thing started, is that we all need to feel a sense of purpose, and we need something to strive for and work toward. And we're reaching that weird age where again we are starting to become more reflective, and we've checked a lot of the boxes off of our list, right, of the things that we wanted to do. And so I think, and you alluded to this even in the last closing of the last Good Simple Living video, is that we kind of find ourselves in a weird spot where last week we had some young folks, excuse me, staying here on the property with us for a few days, and it was interesting to see their youthful exuberance and enthusiasm for life and everything it is that they still have to look forward to. And then we met up with Tom and Nancy and had that lengthy discussion. That was really interesting too, because I think I identified more so with Tom and Nancy than I did with the younger guys that were here on our property, which is a really weird thing to say out loud. But we've done well for ourselves in our lives as far as checking boxes and accomplishing those things that we wanted to accomplish. And so now we're in a weird spot to where, we're wondering what's next. And maybe that's where the podcast came into play.
Yeah, I think it was something to look forward to, something to do, something that provided a challenge and new opportunities.
Right.
Because
when you put it like that, that's exactly what it was for me.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I thought of it.
It's hard to find that. I think the mistake we made is we had this grand goal, but we never made any plans for what came next.
Because my plan for what came next was contentment.
Yeah.
And living out the rest of our lives. But it's not enough. Like we just said repeatedly now. You need something.
Yeah, you do. You need something.
You need something to feel, to feel, I don't know, just, we're very driven people. And we need something to chase. It's really bizarre.
You can chase me.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to chase me.
I checked that box. Again, we're good.
I'm like, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a big part of where this all started. I just hadn't really thought about it and connected those dots.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. See, so now we have like an unknown again in our lives, which is great. The unknowns are good. I like having our toes off the ledge.
And I hate being super negative about it. Like I said, just kind of moping.
It's just not negative.
But it is bumming. It's bumming me out. And I know you have your moments, maybe, but I think I'm experiencing it even more so than you are, which is, again, is really weird. Maybe it's because I don't know. I left police work. It's a midlife crisis. I'm realizing right now it's a midlife crisis.
That's it. No, we know. We know it's wrong.
Yeah, I left, it's just, there's a lot of newness to our life right now, and a lot of feeling of completion, but you can't just take that and run with it at age 40. We still have a lot of living left to do, and a lot of things that, we have to look forward to. It's so weird to be in this transitionary period. And not the mistake I made was not devoting any time into thinking about it or considering it, and so it's smacking me like a heavy bag here.
I think you thought you were immune to it, like you were gonna skirt by it.
Yeah, like I don't get old. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna feel anything.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, my kids. Yeah, my kids are always gonna be kids.
Yeah, well, it's weird because you spend your whole life being told you're too young for everything, and now all of a sudden we're like, I don't know when you're ever just right for anything, because it's like, you're too young, you're too old.
Yeah, and I don't like putting limitations on myself either. I don't like telling myself, even though I do it, I admit I'm fully guilty of it, but I don't like saying, hey, I'm this age now, so that means I can no longer do this. Or I'm this age, which means I can only do this. It just doesn't make any sense. You shouldn't pigeonhole yourself like that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. It definitely sneaks up on you. And then it can leave you feeling lost in so many ways.
It's a silly way to feel. We're very blessed people. We should feel it's very happy and grateful and content.
Well, I don't know. I think that's maybe, I feel like contentment's always been a little trickier for you.
For me, not for you?
I don't know. Well, I feel like I can be content in most stages of my life. I've found contentment. It's very rare that I'm discontented.
Why do you say that about me?
I know, because I feel like no matter what stage you've been in your life, you have a level of, you're never just like, I'm
never
happy
satisfied.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good.
Like you always have a level of not feeling settled or content, or like there's something more or something should be different.
You still get moments where you feel like that, though, no?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Because you are very driven. You are the most driven person I've ever met in my life, by far.
I thrive on action. So when I'm being very busy, I thrive on that, and
So does it serve as a distraction, though, you think?
I don't think that it's a distraction. I think it's just what drives me.
It fills your cup.
Yeah, it does. And so if I go like I wake up in the morning and I literally say I need to achieve this, 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 and this. Actually, do it the day before. Tomorrow I need to achieve this, 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 and this. And then I wake up in the morning and I do feel a level of stress because I'll have like at least 4 or 5 things that I need to do. But then as I start knocking them off, and then if it's like noon and I've done like 3 of those things, I'm like, I'm doing good today. And then if I go to bed and I've achieved all those things, I feel very satisfied with the day.
You ever feel let down if you don't check all those boxes, though?
I always check all the boxes. It's very rare that I don't check the boxes, but like sometimes I'll have a box that I want checked and you'll be like, no, we're not doing that today.
Mm-hmm.
And then that can make me feel like
This is all with work-related stuff?
unchecked boxes. No, it doesn't have to be. It could be like the grocery store. I've discovered that like maybe I'm neurotic.
Maybe.
Yeah, like a little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, I'm totally neurotic. So I have a list. It must be done. I feel content. And then the things where I get the mom guilt at night. I get the mom guilt bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all do. Not the mom guilt, but parent guilt.
You get mom guilt?
No, I get parent guilt. I get dad guilt.
Oh, man, it hits you at night too. Everything's worse at night.
Remember that younger guy that you were talking to down in the lobby in Texas when we were down there? How old was he? He was like 27, 28.
Yeah.
And he had what, like a 6-year-old at home?
See, it was like talking to 27-year-old you. I found this guy. So I find this guy. We're in Texas. The boys like Nevaeh. Of course, she's beautiful and 17. And so we're in Texas. She wants to be down in the lobby mingling. She doesn't get to do that a lot. So I was like, it's cool. But because there were guys around, I was like, I'm going to go. But I wasn't with her. Like I sat in the corner and I brought down my Trader Joe's bottle of wine. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm just going to like pour some wine and I'm just going to sit in the corner. No one will know I'm even here, but I'm going to watch her. And I was just like watching her bounce around the lobby. And then if boys that I thought were too old or whatever tried to talk to her, I'd be like, hey, like I was there. Yeah. And it started to get really late and I just like kept pouring wine because I'm like, this is so boring. And so I found this guy that started talking to me.
Well, the story's taking a weird turn right now.
I know. He was just sitting there. Also, he was waiting for his wife to come pick him up.
Sure he was.
He was. And I think he had come from the bar, so he was already feeling emotional. But he was 27, and I started talking about like he was like, "What are you doing down here?" or whatever, and I said, "I'm watching my daughter. I'm chaperoning." And he was like, "Oh, that's funny." He's like, "Yeah, my kids are young, and they're all under 7." And then we started with, "How many do you have?" and blah blah blah. So then it turned into like this whole parenting discussion. About he didn't feel like he was doing enough. He felt like he was too hard on his kids, and he goes to bed and he feels like he was too hard on them, like he's like being a real hard ass with his son specifically.
The parental guilt. Again.
Yeah. And then he just burst into tears and starts sobbing in the lobby while talking to me. And I was really glad I was there for him. But I felt like I literally, because he kind of looked like you, I felt like I was speaking to the young version of you.
Stunningly gorgeous.
Yeah. No, he was, he was just, he was a good looking dude, whatever. He was brown, very brown like you. So.
Brown bear, yes.
Anyway, he had 3 kids, 27 years old. It was so much like you and the personality and the stuff he was saying, the guilt he was feeling over like the littlest things.
Yeah.
That just weren't a big deal, but to him they were, and his kids were young, and he was like, I'm not being a good provider.
Again, I think that's something that all of us who are parents experience at some point, and it's one of the things that I've become very reflective upon now that the kids are getting older. It's the bulk of our work with the oldest two especially has been done.
Yeah.
Not so much would come up. I mean, Nevaeh turns 18 next year, so that's pretty much a done deal. We've done what we can.
Most depressing stat.
Go ahead.
It was, by the time your children are 12, you've spent 75% of your time with them.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So the one of the many things that I've become reflective about is just whether or not I should have done things differently in this area, and of course I should have at times, as we can probably all say. And Always felt as though I was doing my best, but that doesn't mean that I was doing the perfect job by any means. And so it's just another one of those weird things that just kind of bums me out. And so with what that guy's saying, you and I know because, we all feel like that sometimes, that, hey, the things that you're probably really, really hung up on in the grand scheme of things, by the time your child is a 40-year-old adult themselves, they probably won't ever remember. But you as a parent live with that guilt of, hey,
Right.
I should have handled that differently. I shouldn't have said this. What I should have done was this, or maybe the decision could have gone this way, whatever the case may be.
But I think in the way that I was able to look at him, because his oldest child is 7, and tell him that he's doing fine and not to worry about those little things, is the same way that our neighbor was looking at you.
No, he pretty much said exactly that. He said, one day you're going to be the 60-year-old guy telling your 40-year-old neighbor that, hey, this is just how it goes, bud.
Yeah.
And so, I took some comfort in that. And because, if I were to run into somebody who was, we had kids very early. We had 3 kids by the time we were 29, 2 houses. We had 4 kids by the time we were 31. And there's a lot of stress that comes along with that, and a lot of feelings of inadequacies at times as a man, which I think is what that guy was expressing to you, right? I could be a better provider. And I totally felt that way for a very, very long period of time. Never mind that I was working very hard at the same time and doing a perfectly fine job of providing for our family. But I knew, hey, I need to be spending more time at home with my kids was something that I always grappled with, and I still do. And even with our schedule now, what's my biggest complaint with you whenever we have to start a new project?
Time.
Time. It's always time.
And it's not time for projects. It's time with our kids.
Yeah.
Time
I
with
hate
the
it.
kids.
I mean, there's times where I will become so frustrated. I'm just like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. You know that. This doesn't make the videos, clearly, of course, because these are issues. We're
When
discussing
Jeremy
on camera,
throws down
but
his hammer,
Yeah, it's
rips
just-
off his no.
there comes a point where it's just, what's truly important here. I know on my deathbed, if there's anything that I will genuinely regret, it'll be the misuse of my time.
Yeah.
We only get so much of it. It's a very finite thing. You don't just get to do what you want when you want. You have a window of opportunity, and if you don't pounce, that window will cease to exist.
Yeah. Yeah. Time.
sucks.
You can't get it back.
This is a real bummer of a podcast
Goes
episode.
really fast. Yeah, I don't know. Jeez, Jeremy.
20 episodes. Let's bum everybody out.
No, I think everyone grapples with that kind of stuff. It's just real. It's just
It is.
everybody grapples with their time when you're commuting in your car or you're sitting at your job and you'd rather be with your family. You're going.
You're in bed. You're daydreaming. You're sitting. Just hey, I know I'm not alone here. I know others feel this way. But man, it's
When
hard.
you're young, you don't realize it as much because there's so much time ahead of you and you haven't had that much time behind
Right.
you. And then when you have young kids, you think you have forever with these kids. You're like, 18 years is forever. It's almost like your whole life. But as your kids start to get older, once you get one that you've gotten all the way there, Nevaeh's almost 18, you then start looking at the younger ones and realizing how damn fast it goes.
Yep.
And that is, I don't remember looking at Nevaeh at 8 years old and going, oh my gosh, she's growing so fast. Because 18 still seemed really far away. But now that I realize 8 to 18 just goes like that, now I look at 8 and go, oh no, like it's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And he's going to be bull riding and we won't be able to tell him he can't.
Let us know down in the comments, because we know we have a lot of we have folks that are older, wiser than we are, that watch and follow along with the stuff that we do. So if you have, I'm asking for it. I am soliciting your advice. How do we navigate this time in our lives? There's a lot of change. There's lots of transition that's occurring, and we are a family of 6, and it's happening pretty much with everybody simultaneously. So let us know if you've experienced this yourself, and give us your advice. Let us know how you think it is that we should live at peace with all of these things that are really outside of our control.
Yeah. Well, I think it was like Zach King when he walked in the hotel room. He's like, how old? When we were talking about like Nevaeh getting older, he was like, oh, so you're about to be a family of 5. And I was like, oh, like, yeah.
Yeah, sort of.
Like our family vacations that are crazy with the 6 of us are going to look different very quickly.
Yeah.
If she may still want to come with us, but she might not.
She might, and if
or
she
she might
doesn't-
be like, can so and so come? And we'll be like, I guess.
It's just, yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's more change.
Yeah.
There's more change to come.
Yeah. Like once they start getting married, now there's in-laws. And she'll be like, no, I'm spending Christmas with Joe's family. And we'll be like, what?
Yeah, it's so weird.
But you have to consider that because there's a mom and dad on that side.
Yeah,
too.
not only do you have to consider that, I think you have to root for that, right?
Right.
You want a well-adjusted adult that you can say, yep, that's mine. I contributed in raising that, and look what happened.
She won't be here for Christmas, but
it's just kind of weird. It's so counterintuitive that you have to be like, no, I'm glad that that's the case. I'm glad that you've got your own life and you're happy, hopefully, and yeah, it's such a weird thing.
Yeah,
even if in the process you're experiencing this heartache.
It's hard to make people.
Man, I made a freaking mistake of watching this video somebody posted. It was a Facebook reel that popped up, and it was his dad saying goodbye to his daughter at college.
Ah, jeez.
But he was hiding behind the car,
Oh.
and he was watching her like walk off to the dorm room. The mom was like in the car recording him without his knowledge, supposedly. How social media goes.
Yeah.
But I was like, I couldn't handle it. I could not do it. I was like, it's too much. You're tapping into something for me that's too real right now.
Yeah. It was really hard for my dad. When the summer before, I guess it was just a couple of months after I graduated, before I left for college, he kind of stopped talking to me. It was weird. Like, and I was like, why is dad so mad at me? Like, what did I do? Like, he was acting like mad at me, but it was just like a thing he was putting up, like he didn't know what to do with that. When I left for college, like he barely even said goodbye to me, but I knew that it was like super hard for him. And yeah, that's weird. I didn't understand it at the time because I wasn't a parent, but I totally get
it.
that. Yeah.
I know that
he
story.
was mad at me. He was mad at me for growing
I don't
up.
think he was mad at you at all.
No, but I mean, he was mad. He loved having little kids.
He was trying to salvage his own feelings and stay in a place that were going to make it as okay as possible for him to watch you leave and be gone. That's all it was. And it's weird because I know that story, and knowing of that story when you and I were dating in our early 20s, I was like,
that was mean. Yeah.
That sounds not right. Now that I'm
not mean, but like,
now that I'm older, I totally get it. I'm not saying that's not necessarily the best way of handling that situation, but I understand why his behavior was what it was at the time. I get it.
Yeah. I think he just didn't know what to do with it. I was like, I was the last one. I was the baby. I was leaving them empty nesters.
Yeah.
And he was like, why are you going? Plus I picked like 2,000 mile away school when there was a perfectly good university right by our house.
Yeah.
He's like, what are you doing? So I totally get it. Like I was just being dumb and like, bye. And I guess I was being super inconsiderate too.
So we love our lives here, right? We are living our dream. Our longtime dream that we had for ourselves. And I posed this hypothetical to you about one day being empty nesters. I mean, you take into consideration that Eli's 9, you're potentially talking about us being empty nesters in another 9 years. Are you afraid of that reality for us here on this property, especially because we will feel the weight of that even more living as quiet and isolated as we do?
Yeah. Right now it's great because our property is filled with little voices and kids running around constantly and bikes everywhere. And yeah. When all that ceases, I'll finally be able to ride my horse.
Yeah, I want to say that no, it'll be great in a way because we'll have all this free time, but I don't know that it'll play out like that. Honestly, I picture myself like, I'm always like, man, I'm going to be sitting in my hot tub by myself.
That's a bad.
Even when I get splashed in the face when I'm in there with the kids and I'm like, hey, knock it off. But I'm going to be sitting there by myself. Like, I wish somebody was splashing me in the face right now.
Oh, you're making it worse.
I miss my kids.
Stop it.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still hopeful at least one of them won't go too far away. Yeah. I want like grandkids in my house every day.
If they aren't close, what are we going to do with ourselves? What does life look like for us?
Sell the homestead, leave, follow one of them. I got to follow one of them. If they all move to different states, I'm going to pick my favorite one and then I'm going to follow them. Like, hey.
Should have a competition. Like Survivor or something.
What if they don't want us
Who
to
gets
follow
to live
them?
near mom and dad? And the loser gets mom and dad.
Yeah. I was like, that's not necessarily a prize. Hey.
Isn't it weird to think about though? And like, again, literally it might not be that far away, but you said sell this? Really?
No.
There's there are very few situations or scenarios where I can see us ever selling.
Yeah, no. I mean, we built this to be a place they can always come home to. So
Yeah.
if they fly away, hopefully they will come back often.
Yeah, we'll see. And, that's something that a lot of older parents have told me too, is like, hey, don't become discouraged if your 20 to 25-year-old wants very little to do with you.
What?
Or not little to do with you, but just, so with the kids, right there, how I sum it up is that there's a lack of buy-in the older they get. Like they don't take your words to heart, at least in a certain stage, it seems like.
Yeah, well,
with
not when it
becoming a
has to-
teenager.
yeah.
So they become teenagers and they start like questioning everything it is that you say or things that you said in the past, right? And then that can persist for quite a while until I think they become adults themselves and things start to finally make sense to them the older they get. I think that's definitely true for you and I, right? There were things that our parents told us. We're in that period of time we were very dismissive of like, I don't want to hear it. Basically, let me figure this out on my own. And then, hey, come to find out, yeah, no, they were right. I just needed to, walk my own path and experience my own little side journey here to confirm that, in fact, what they said was correct.
Yeah.
And so I guess part of the hope is that, hey, even if they do fly the coop and they, step outside and do their own thing, that's okay. And they need to be afforded that opportunity. And hopefully they come back and we all live happily ever after. Not come back physically, just, you know what I'm saying? Just be checked in emotionally and spiritually with the fact that we are family. And that's what makes us special to one another, is the fact that, hey, we are this little cohesive group. Remember that? Remember once upon a time, it was always the six of us and, we lived our lives together.
I want to be like Duck Dynasty, where everyone lives all close together, and
Yeah,
then they
that's
have that
ideal.
big dinner at night.
That's that's the reason we bought this property, right? Because ideally,
That's what I picture.
Ideally, everybody would stay here and be here. We'd all live happily ever after in that scenario. But
We need to start a business that they can all work with, like duck calls, like they have the duck calls.
what do we have that's like that? What's the equivalent?
I don't know.
We got nothing.
I got nothing. I need like a moose call. No, you can't. See, I don't know.
Moose calls.
I don't know. I just thought of something that was like duck calls.
No, it is. Again, they get to choose for themselves. It's the name of the game.
Yeah.
As much as it might pain you as a parent.
So, do you think that people experience midlife crises and this crises
Crises.
in the same way if they do not have
No.
children, or do the children amplify the way that you feel?
Speaking as a parent, listen to what I just said for the last.
Yeah, it was
20
all about
minutes
the
here.
kids. Like,
Yeah.
are you actually yourself having
I
any
think
of this?
because it's a measuring stick and it's a constant reminder that just walks around your house, and we have 4 of them. So yeah, I think so.
You're getting old.
Like I said, even for myself, mentally, I don't feel any older. I know that you basically said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Tom and Nancy said the same thing. A lot of older people say that. But until you get a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and you're like, what the heck is going on?
No, my
What's happening?
face fell.
My face, my body's looking weird and unrecognizable. I got gray hairs. I got ear hair. Like, this is crazy. What is happening? I have a gray ear hair in my right ear.
So it didn't even try to be black. It just grew in gray.
It's like 5 times as thick as a normal hair. It's crazy.
It's like a tree trunk growing out of your earlobe.
So just weird things like that. But yeah, I definitely think kids amplify those thoughts and feelings, because like I said, I walk around, I'm just constantly in a state of shock in our house currently. I don't know how else to describe it. It's a really weird thing to experience. Again, I didn't prepare for this whatsoever. It's just weird having kids that I don't recognize in a number of ways, and it seems to be changing on literally a weekly basis.
Maybe me making the kids be my cheerleading bases is my own midlife crisis. I'm like, I can still do it.
They can pick
Kids,
me
get over here. Lift your mother. Show me I can still do it.
What about for you? Do you think the kids make it more amplified?
I just don't want them to get any older. And I felt like that at every single stage. Every single birthday that every single one of our children has had has made me sad.
That's not a healthy way of
I love
living.
them being small. I just do. I can't change the way I feel. I love them being small. When they were 2 and they were turning 3, I hated it. And when they were 3 and they were turning 4, I hated it. 5 was okay because it still sounded little kid. I didn't like 6. When they weren't 5 anymore, because they weren't 5 anymore. Like 5 is kindergarten, and the little baby, they still got the dimples on their knuckles, the little baby hands. And then 6 was like, oh, you're a kid now, And then every single age has been really hard for me. Every birthday. I reflect on every birthday. I dread it. And then I'm like, fine. After they turn that age, I'm like, okay.
I get really weird feelings on the girl's birthday because it's also my birthday, and it's just another like massive slap of
Yeah.
reality. Like, hey, you're getting older, and by the way, your kids are also getting older, all pretty much within a 24-hour period.
Yeah.
So congratulations. It's just really weird. Do you think we're on a downhill as much as we have managed to somehow pull off?
Physically we are, but that doesn't mean just because like physically you're on a downhill. I mean, I guess you don't have to be. You could all of a sudden get in crazy shape or something. But I don't think life is on the downhill. So 40 is a hard age because you have so much behind you, but you have like probably even more ahead of you.
Yeah.
God willing.
Yeah.
I mean, we can have another 60 years ahead of us.
What's the average life expectancy here in the US for men and women? It's about 80, right?
I'm going to live to be 100.
There's all the jokes of like being over the hill come at what, like 40 or 50 or somewhere in that range?
Yeah, 40, but
Or 60.
that's like not, well, I don't feel like 40 is over the hill.
I just think that life is
I
going
feel like
to...
it's at the,
I feel like life is going to progressively slow down for us from now until the end. Whenever that day comes, I feel like life is going to progressively slow more and more over time.
I hope that I live to be 100 like my grandma. She's going to be 100 in June.
Is she really?
Mm-hmm. We're having a big party.
Where?
I don't know.
Okay.
In Washington.
Sidetrack. Sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
realize she was turning 100 this year.
Yep. 6 months from now.
Yeah, that's crazy to think.
Yeah.
Another 60 years. Oof.
I know. So I don't want to be like, oh, we're on the downhill, or we're like, oh, we're, like, not necessarily. We could live another 60 years. We could have a whole nother crazy, I want to have the grandkids. I want to see the grandkids.
Yeah,
I want to
but
have this conversation about our grandkids.
I don't think there's ever going to be a time or a decade of living that's going to be anything like our 20s were or our 30s
No.
were. I think our 40s will be slower than our 30s. And I think our 30s were slightly slower than our 20s. I think that our 50s will be slower than our 40s. And I think that trend just continues until the very end.
Now, a lot of people have said that their 40s were the best years of their life.
Yeah, I have heard that because you're still physically able in a lot of situations.
And your kids are getting older. You're starting to reconnect with your spouse. You're starting to be able to travel by yourselves again with them.
All that stuff can be very intimidating, though. And I think for us, it is not that transition is not going to be smooth because we do things very unconventionally and we place a heavy emphasis on family first. And so dealing with that change, I think for us is a little different from most people.
Do you think that we've made it significantly harder on ourselves by homeschooling and by not doing sleepovers and things like that with the kids?
Yes.
I have never spent a single night away from Kaimani or Kira or Eli.
This is what I'm saying. And I think because of that, it's gonna be a tough transition for us.
Yeah, it's gonna be a smack in the face. And we never even got to experience our kids going to kindergarten. Like that hard day of like goodbye. And like the mom cries and your kid goes in the school bus and they wave with their little hand.
Yeah.
And then you get used to that. And there's a natural progression that we skipped. So it's just going to be...
Is that a natural progression? I would argue that that's not natural.
Well, I don't know if it's natural by nature.
It's just societal. It's just the way we do things.
Separate the family.
Yeah.
But I think that you get little doses of separation through the years, and then by the time that it actually happens, while still hard, it's not everything all at once. It's not the first night away. It's not the first vacation alone. We've never even gone on a single trip by ourselves.
Family and the kids for you and I has always been a constant, and it's something that has always been at the forefront of our minds, and it's beyond habitual. It's ingrained within us, and so to move beyond that, I think is going to be really... Speaking for myself, it's going to be tough. I can already tell. I mean, you know.
I brought it up going on. So we're talking about having a guest on from Tennessee and going over to visit them. And I brought up going by ourselves. Mm-hmm. And the reason I brought it up is so like we could just try it. And like I was like, we could just be gone for 2 nights. Like,
and my response was,
we do it. And you were like, absolutely not. We're bringing the kids. But the reason I brought it up, because although I hate that idea. I thought like maybe we should
like it's an exercise.
Yeah, like we need to, at what point it's going to be complete devastation when one of them leaves.
It's not even that. It wasn't like we all need to stick together. It was just that this was an opportunity to show them another new area, kind of like Texas, and we enjoy doing these types of things as a family. But I just think it's great for the kids to experience a new place. I think there's a lot of value to come from that. That's the reason I want them there. It's not necessarily that I want us to to stay together. Although that is a part of my
That's
motivation. I won't lie.
yeah, I'm going to say it's a huge part of it. Yeah. I was just thinking like maybe if it's just like a night or 2 nights, like we just, like there's couples that will just go get a hotel and go somewhere for the night and
Yeah.
their parents will watch the kids. We have never done that.
We don't do things like that. And I remember at the time I told you, I was like, I thought everybody was like us, and I'm learning that that's not the case.
No.
We are definitely the exception,
Yeah.
and we don't function in the way that most would consider normal.
Yeah. So yeah, I was listening. I made you watch that Modern Family thing, right? Where the dad was talking about
Oh yeah. The
so
Ed O'Neill's
sad.
character. Yeah.
Yeah, he's talking about kids growing up, and he was like, with kids, I'm gonna slaughter this whole segment, but it was so great because he's like, when you have this little baby, they're so cute, and then all of a sudden they become one, and they're tripping all over and stuff, and the baby is replaced with this adorable 1-year-old, and then the 1-year-old becomes this 5-year-old that's going to kindergarten, and so yes, they're not the 1-year-old anymore, but now you have this adorable 5-year-old, and then it goes on and on and on like that, where you never really miss the little kid because they're replaced with this new amazing child that you have. And then all of a sudden, when they walk out the door, you lose all of them at once. Like all of a sudden you miss every single version that you didn't even realize that you were losing at the time because they were always replaced with someone new. But then when they leave, now all of a sudden you miss every single one of them.
And you can't hold on to it, man. It's like trying to hold on to a handful of sand. It just goes to, just slips through your fingers.
Parenthood is so hard.
So crazy. So to answer the original question, are we experiencing a simultaneous midlife crisis?
I
And going
think so.
crazy?
Listen to the last hour of us talking. We
can't
are
believe.
100% having a massive parenting midlife.
Yeah. Glad we could realize this on camera.
Yeah, no, this is really great. We should always do these kind of things publicly.
This is the weird thing about the podcast too.
Maybe we should have kept this one on the couch.
No, it's great. It's great. And yeah, I don't know. We speak very honestly when we're on here, and we hope you guys recognize that. And yeah, but it's good. It's things that should be spoken about, and it's things that we do have discussions about on a regular basis. It's just weird when it trickles into to this space.
The once a year when we go out to eat for our anniversary or something, and we're alone for a couple hours, when we're sitting there having our expensive old fashions or whatever, when we treat ourselves to at some fancy ritzy bar. These are the conversations we're having. This is exactly what it sounds like.
Yep.
When we do go out without the kids, we just talk about the kids.
Yeah.
But I think every parent does that.
That's what I mean. We need to, I don't know. Maybe we need to venture out more, just you and I, and make this, not make the same mistakes, not repeat this mistake of putting things off and being like, oh, it's not going to happen, because it is going to happen, and we should hope that it does happen. We want, our kids to thrive. So.
And I don't want to it to be such a shock and us to all of a sudden not know what to do when it's just us. I feel like we need to start venturing into that now.
Yeah. Agreed.
So,
so again, we'll look to you guys. leave your advice down in the comments for us. Kind of a weird episode for the 20th episode. This isn't what I expected. But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
20 episodes. We made it 20 episodes in. We'll see where this goes. Really enjoy the podcast. I think you've come to really enjoy it. It's something that you've become extremely passionate about, and you look forward to doing now, which I'm happy about too. So it's good either way. It's like I said, this is a passion project from the start. Sure, we do hope to grow it, and we hope that you guys come to love it as much as we do. But either way, we appreciate you being here. Anything else you want to include before we wrap this up? Shut it down.
I think we will have guests next week. We have some really interesting people we are talking to. As long as all goes well with the schedules, we should have guests next week. It's not Chip and Joanna.
Not Chip and Joanna. Not this time. It is not them.
But maybe next week, because you never know.
You never know. All right. Love you, Mama.
Love you.
Great midlife crisis talk.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys. We'll see you next week on next week's episode. Till then, take care, and we'll see you then.